All right. Hello and welcome to the Navigating AI Together at Intuit webinar. I'm Brianna Marias, a Senior Marketing Manager here at Intuit and your host and moderator for today. In today's webinar, we will talk about the way GenAI is changing the game at Intuit and beyond. And this topic is incredibly exciting and I cannot wait to dive in. Housekeeping, a little bit of housekeeping for us all. Zoom chat will be disabled for this webinar, but we'll be taking questions in Zoom Q&A. And our panelists will answer them at the end. So I'm going to welcome the panelists. We have an amazing panel today. So let's start by welcoming them and getting to know a little bit about our panel. So I'm going to ask each of you to tell me a little bit about you, your role, your team, and how you're using AI in your role. I would love to start with Danny, if you would like to start.
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. I'm Danny Ortega. I'm a researcher and storyteller on the Intuit brand and transformation team. And my job is to be out there in the world constantly learning from our customers across all of our different products, MailChimp, QuickBooks, TurboTax, Credit Karma. And I hear a lot of stories and I'm able to translate those with some strategy to all of Intuit and help fuel our customer obsession, some innovation that we're working on. And I also get to work and talk with a lot of some of the folks on this call and a lot of Intuit employees as well. So wonderful to be here with you today.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Shannon, next, please.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shannon. I'm Assistant General Counsel for AI. And I, along with our amazing legal team and compliance team and also policy team, help think through all the interesting questions about AI and provide formal legal guidance. I also help run our Responsible AI program, and we think through novel compliance challenges as well as ethical challenges on how we build and deploy AI.
Amazing. And Maggie, last but not least.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. And then this is Maggie Hu. I'm the AI platform product manager at Intuit. I used to be a researcher, to just make some association with Danny. So as a product manager at Intuit, we are working on the one-stop shop, AI development platform for all the AI developers, namely data scientists, machine learning engineers, and then data analysts. It can be democratized to all the folks that using GenAI these days. That I know that Bri will show some of the slides for you. Those are all under our platform team, and I'm also overseeing those. So all in all, I'm overseeing and working on all the AI platform capabilities, cover both classical AI and then generative AI. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, so before we move on, we're going to get to know you all in the audience a little better. You should see a poll pop up on your Zoom webinar screen now. And we're going to ask that you respond and let us know how familiar you are with Gen AI. All right. Hopefully everyone has a chance to respond. And let's see where we all are. Oh, yeah, so it looks like we're definitely on the familiar side, at least somewhat familiar. Although there are people who have never used Gen AI on the call, which is great. And we all start someplace, and I can say by personal experience that it's amazing how quickly we can go from never having used to giant supporter, promoter, user of. So you are in good company here. All right, let's go to the next question. How much do you agree with these statements? All right, give everyone a couple more seconds. This is just gonna help us ground ourselves in where you all are as we dive into GenAI at Intuit, and of course, applicable to far beyond Intuit. All right, let's go ahead and see the answers. All right, so a little neutral on my workplace promotes GenAI and encourages us to use it. That's super interesting. It seems like a nice little bell curve in terms of response, but most people are kind of neutral. So that's very interesting. I'm confident in using GenAI for work. Most of you agree, but there's definitely opportunity to gain confidence, and that is an amazing opportunity, right, for us to upskill and experiment and learn this amazing technology. I fear GenAI will take over my job, and we're definitely going to talk about this too. And there's people who agree, although most of you on the call, it looks like disagree. So it's definitely something that was in the headlines, though, right? It was definitely some exhilarating headlines coming out of the ChatGPT release and all of that. I'm sure you all saw. And last, I see GenAI as a co-pilot to accelerate my work. And most of you are in the agree bucket here. And I'm excited for the people who disagree, because we can change your mind maybe today on how GenAI could be used. All right, great job. Thank you for your feedback. And we are going to start off in a fun way. And we have a game that we're going to play with GenAI. And so here you'll see, we're going to bring up the slides again. Here are 8 pictures of me and our beautiful panel of folks. And my question will be, let's see if I can, there we go. All right. So the challenge, can you guess which of these pictures are real and which ones were made by GenAI? Go ahead and take 10 seconds, record it in your brain, what you think the answer is. Can you spot the ones that were created by GenAI? All right. Here are the answers. I was definitely an early adopter of GenAI headshots. I do not own a white suit, but now I honestly kind of want one. So let's talk now about GenAI at Intuit and AI in general. So 5 years ago, Intuit declared its strategy to be an AI-driven expert platform, with data and AI being core to that strategy. Today, we're transforming from a tax and accounting platform where consumers and small businesses have to do all of this manual work to a global financial technology platform where we do the hard work for them with AI. It's a very exciting time to be at Intuit, as we all have the opportunity to be a part of this exciting transformation and help power prosperity for all. But today, we're not here to discuss products. We are here. Oh, my slide advancing isn't working. But we're not here to discuss products today. We're really here to share our experiences. So let's move forward. There we go. Oh, now we've gone too far. Sorry about that, guys. Let's get back. Thank you for your patience. Okay, here we go. But we're not here, as I said, to talk about products. We're here to talk about our experiences. So let's talk about it. Generative AI is on nearly everyone's mind. It's all over the headlines, the good, the bad, the confused, it's all there. But what we now know, as we've gotten into the world where we all have access to things like ChatGPT and other generative AI technologies, is half the population is using generative AI, which is what is shown in our early polls, right? Over half of you all are using generative AI. Over a third of people use it every day. And according to data from Salesforce, 75% of Gen AI users are looking to automate tasks at work, and they use generative AI for work communications, which I know is something I do every single day, is using it for communications. And those who use Gen AI are saving on average 5 hours of manual work each week. It's really taking a lot of that manual work out of our daily lives. Where some companies are struggling to upskill their workforce, Intuit is keeping a step ahead. We're truly encouraged to explore, experiment, and learn with Gen AI. We have internal GenAI toolbox to unlock workflows for all Intuit employees. And there's a real push to spend time learning prompt design and exploring other applications. My team is the marketing and communications learning and development team. And we have the goal, and I know this is a goal across Intuit, for all of our community to become active users of GenAI this year. We have Tiger teams across the company working on cross-functional GenAI use cases. There's a lot of passion and exploration happening. It's definitely very exciting. So what we're going to do now that we've kind of grounded ourselves in GenAI is we're going to spend the rest of the time in Q&A. Many of you have submitted questions when you registered, and so we are going to handle those first. We will leave some time at the end for new questions as well. So if you'd like to populate those in the Zoom Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen, you can do that. And let's get started. All right. Okay, so my first question, can you describe a few standout use cases where AI had a significant positive impact on how you approached a task at work? I'd love to start with Maggie.
So, yeah, thank you for the questions. And then, so for me, I think it's again, like I'm working on this platform capabilities on a daily basis, and then but again, like a Gen AI is a very wide space, and I want to remind folks like there are a lot of niche areas, and then for me, I focus on the prompt designing. And then making sure that the team's having the best tool to help them, specifically the engineers, right? And then to understand whether they can design the best prompt to empower our product experience, right? And then that's very niche for me. And then also we are trying to do observabilities over like generative AI. So there is also another team that I'm supporting under the our overall Gen AI efforts. So those are the two use cases that I can share from my end.
Yeah. Is there anything that you have used Gen AI for outside of work that has been exciting?
Yeah, a big fan of using it to do trip planning. So I actually, very much want to challenge GPT. And then when it started, and I give it a lot of inputs, like how about I take a kids this age, and then I want them to have different experience, and then please eliminate a certain type of activities in your plan, etc. So I think so far I had very good experience from what they could help me to do the trip planning. Yeah,
I love it. My 7-year-old had a birthday on Easter this year and had a sleepover, and I had it help me come up with an Easter themed sleepover agenda with movies and snacks and all the things. It was amazing. All right, Danny, over to you. What have you used AI for at work? What's the big positive impact? Oh, you're on mute.
You'll hear me repeat the same over and over again, and that is I think of generative AI as a different perspective, and I use it that way constantly for the work. So on our team, as I mentioned before, we go out and talk to lots of customers, hundreds of or thousands of customers a year, and we need to translate what we're learning. What are the insights? What are the awesome quotes? What are the stories that we need to surface at the company level? And that's actually pretty hard to do for a lot of different use cases. So I could get a call from my comms partner saying, I want to quote about how our users are how they're feeling about some of our generative AI beta products. Or I can get a call from our brand team saying, I want to find a Gen Z consumer to put in our national campaign. There's so many different ways that we can utilize and tell these stories and share them with the world. And so that puts the impetus on me to be able to figure out, how do I capture this data? And then how can I use something like generative AI to help me quickly kind of sort through and get someone a version of a story that could be helpful for them, so we can assess, is this the right story for this particular usage? And so because generative AI and LLM specifically are so good with natural language, like we're able to sort through a lot of the stories that we kind of assemble and synthesize and kind of get to an output that's really incredibly helpful to our stakeholders. And for me, that's game changing. I grew up dyslexic, and for me, it's never been easy to process characters. Never in my life, even at this point, it's not easy for me to sit down and write page after page after page. And for me, generative AI and LLMs has been a huge unlock. And like, it's not taking all of the weight off of that. I still have to think critically and edit and make sure what I'm creating is of a certain quality. But I'm no longer hindered by this thing that has been holding me down for many years. I am like
Yeah.
empowered, and I'm like, oh, this is what everybody else has been getting for all their life because they don't have this thing that I have. So it's very exciting.
Oh, I love that. Shannon, what about you?
Well, first, Danny, I love your story. That is amazing. That's like what inspires me to come to work. Like every day, our stories like that. So I'm a lawyer, and so there's some very well published cases. I encourage you to Google them if you'd like, about lawyers using this technology for legal purposes. And I think you will find that it's not quite there yet, which is great, because that's where the future of our work lies, on figuring out how we can kind of ethically and responsibly work and improve these tools to work on kind of more high impact things like financial decisions and legal decisions. So we don't quite use it for legal work today, but where I have used it and where I've been super impressed is in the AI note-taking space. So being able to have a note taker, an AI note taker that runs during a meeting. It is summarizing what is being discussed during the call, so that people can be super present in our work, so that we can focus on handling really difficult decisions and making important choices, rather than taking notes and trying to do kind of the grunt work of everything that makes our jobs work. So that has been super helpful. I also use it for like summarizing information, including like on performance work. Like if I need to summarize like all the work that I've done for an entire year to my manager, I might look to GPT to help me do a quick summary, and it's actually pretty good at that. Outside of work, I recently planned a really big birthday party, and it was an Alice in Wonderland themed dinner party. And I used GPT to kind of solve that like blinking cursor problem, which is like, how do I even get started on what I want to say? And it wrote an invitation in the voice of Lewis Carroll, like in poetry, referencing like all of these references to the Alice in Wonderland books. And it was like brilliant. And I something that probably would have taken me days to figure out how to write was done in like a minute. And so that's pretty amazing.
That is amazing. Thank you all. All right, next question. Just kind of the flip side of where Gen AI has been really helpful is, can you describe an experience where Gen AI was not helpful? Danny, I'm going to start off with you.
Yeah, what I find is usually when it's not helpful, it's not because it can't be helpful, but it's because I'm asking the wrong question. And this is something that we're discovering, and a lot of people in the industry that I've talked to are discovering, is a blank box is the most intimidating thing for people. And right now, Gen AI is kind of based around a text box, and you as a human have to figure out what do I want to get out of this. And it doesn't come naturally to know, like, how do I interact with this very advanced thing that's read almost every book and has so much information in it. And so it's a process of learning, like, what is prompting? How can it be valuable for me? And so the times when it's been not valuable, or when I've asked it a totally wrong question, or when I ask it too general of a question, the art of getting better at that is like, how do I make this more about, what I need and what I'm looking for, and how do I think deeply about a really great prompt to get to a great outcome? And when I don't, it's trash.
Yeah, absolutely. Shannon, what about you?
So I think, well, first I'll just start. I think this is one of the most exciting aspects to dive into, because this is like where places working at Intuit is super exciting. Because we get to focus on like, where is the technology going to go? Where is it going to improve? Where are we today? And at least in some of the work that I focus on, I think there's kind of two areas where we're seeing where it's not quite yet ready to be helpful. One is in decisions that require a high degree of expertise. So in places like financial decisions, creditworthiness decisions, questions about like, should you hire someone or not hire someone, questions about the law, the questions about medicine. These require a very, very high degree of accuracy in order to be effective and helpful. It also requires a very high degree of expertise. And so the technology is not quite there yet. And I think that's something that we and our entire company are focused on, like, and also working with the industry on how we improve in those spaces. I think there's also a place where there may not be enough data about either a subject matter or even maybe a particular population of people. And if that's the case, then there may be skewed results. And so those are I think, two particular areas where we're focused on trying to improve in those spaces.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. What are some unexpected or surprising revelations you've had while working with AI? I know that for me personally, there's a ton of things I had assumptions about, and it was just not the way that actually played out. So I'd love to hear your thoughts there. Danny, can we start with you?
Absolutely. So I think one of the most unexpected things that I've discovered is I talked earlier about looking at LLMs or generative AI as a different perspective. And I think a good example of this is, for all y'all on the call today, go through the exercise of trying to tell your own story. And, Chat GPT actually has a wonderful function now, which is chat, like live, like voice chat. And so you can press the little microphone and it will listen to you and respond in a human voice. Whether you use that or something else, challenge yourself to unpack your story in a way that you might tell someone that you're really trying to get to know, and imagine the questions they might ask, and do the best that you can to, fully tell your story, what you think is important to you, who you are, what you're about, what your why is, all those things. And then the power of a different perspective is to help you understand that story differently or better. And so, one of the things that I've tried before is like, of course, I'll tell my story where I'm from. I'm from Richmond, California, and I grew up the son of a mechanic, and it's an amazing miracle that I'm here at Intuit doing what I do, coming from an underprivileged, place with, so many educational challenges and a learning disability, but I'm here. And so I've learned to own that story. As a storyteller, it becomes valuable to be able to tell your own story, to get other people to unpack theirs. And it's not just good enough to tell your story. Use something like generative AI to help you refine it. And ask it questions like, hey, do a narrative analysis on my story that I just told you. What do you get out of this? What can I learn about myself? How can I tell my story differently? And it's not like you're trying to change your story. You just may not have really fully explored, what are the things that are going to get people to listen and pay attention. And I think that's the surprise to me, is when you treat it like a different perspective, almost like a really smart, different person that's listening to you, and that's really going to care what you have to say, and that's really, really going to try to please you and get you to a good outcome. You can unlock a whole different version of generative AI that you may not have known existed, that is really beneficial to updating all your LinkedIn profiles. And if you have to write a bio, and even introducing yourself at job interviews, the power of your own story is the most powerful thing that you have.
Yeah. Oh, I love that reminder, and I love the push. I think especially, it's hard for everybody, but I think especially as a woman in tech, I have often struggled with promoting my work and doing that bragging that, or touching on that feeling, and Gen AI can absolutely be that space to kind of develop my story. I love the push. Shannon, how about you?
Yeah, just taking us back a few months ago, back in time a few months ago, we at Intuit were thinking about how do we take these technologies and unlock them for our entire workforce. Mm-hmm. And so we did this major pivot to work on what we've built as this platform for utilizing Gen AI and making it accessible to everyone. And I remember when we were first thinking about opening up to users for the first time, and this was new technology, we didn't really know how people wanted to use it. And so in order to kind of get a sense of are people going to use it? How are they going to use it? What do they want to do with it? Is this safe and responsible? We just polled everyone. We were like, hey, how do you want to use this? Why do you want access to it? And the questions that we got back, I thought were so interesting and revealing. And there were two use cases that really struck me, and they were repeated. They were repeated by many different employees. And one is that we have a really diverse workforce from people all around the world. We have offices around the world. We have people from different cultures. We have people who speak different languages. And one of the number one things that people said that they wanted to use this tool is to help communicate with people of other cultures and to communicate with other languages, particularly people who didn't speak English as a first language. And I thought that was just incredible, an incredible use case for connectivity. And then secondarily, there's a number of people who said they wanted to use it to help them speak with more empathy. And I just thought that was such a beautiful use case. I just think when we lean into all the different ways that like our own imaginations can even think about utilizing these tools, we come out with some really beautiful results of using technology to bring us together and using it to make more connections.
Yeah, I love that. I think that it, as a communication tool, it's such a important new ability that we have, and so it's really nice to hear that everybody that's the use cases that are coming out, because that definitely fits with what I know of the people of Intuit. So thank you for that. All right, what are the key points that someone new to AI, especially a product manager, so let's take a kind of a product manager spin on this. What are the key points that someone new to AI would need to learn before involving themselves with the tool? So what's that like level of information skills before diving in? Maggie, I'd love to start with you.
Yeah, thank you. So I think again, like AI is a broad space, as I mentioned, right? And then so the assumption is that you are already a product manager. You basically know the typical job roles for a product managers to work on. And then now like the AI is a new domain. And then there are a number of things that you need to be prepared. Number one is that learning technology, right? And then what does it mean by ML and AI? And then what are the different use cases? And then is it a medical field or it is legal advice, right? And then put a caveat on that, right? And then just be mindful, like there will be different requirements for different use cases or domains, right? And then understand that to which area you are trying to pivot in, right? And then again, like there are tons of pros and cons you can learn. I like what Shannon shared, right? Especially for like medical domains and legal domains, right? And then there are a lot of cons that you need to learn, and then that actually giving us opportunity to improve the technology and how you can be creative and lead your product development team to create innovative technology and launch the product that close the gap gradually. That's something that you can investigate and then learn more. But often the times you also need to remember, I mean, this is true to everything, right? Traditional data science, right? And then whether this is statistical model or it's like, classical AI or Gen AI today, I want to remind you about the data, right? Data quality, data volume, and then is there any bias in data? Because it's always garbage in, garbage out, right? And then do you have enough data? And then that data is having a good coverage and quality to train your model. That's very, like everyone should be mindful about it, right? The bias is not only coming from data, maybe also coming from model itself, right? And then is that model artificially designed and to capture all the things, right? And you know that the LLM can have 700 billion parameters, and there are smaller ones have 7 billion parameters. And then you also need to learn why the smaller models sometimes perform better than the larger one. So all in all, learn the technology, learn the specific use cases, and then understand their pros and cons, and then like really dive into that vertical, let's say, and then deeply invest yourself in that domains, and then hopefully you can create some great product with your team from there.
Yeah, I love that you point out the need to really understand the technology behind what you're using. And even with things that are like controlled sandboxes, there's still decisions that you're making as a user of the technology. And so I definitely agree that being aware of what that looks like, what the technology means, what limitations are, hugely important. So yes, absolutely. What are some concerns you had early on about using Gen AI, or maybe you might still have? Maggie, I'd love to start with you.
Thank you. Of course, that will come from my platform level, comparing the classical AI versus Gen AI. I still do believe that generative AI giving us very good user experience. It's very versatile, like it can address a lot of use cases in all. But I'm also a big advocate for classical AI, which are basically the descriptive models and then prescriptive model. And then those basically are more reliable and robust for the enterprise use cases these days, right? And then, so I do want to, from the technical perspectives, and then when we as a product manager, especially on the technical side, and then we need to understand how to work with the team to make sure that we are adopting the right technologies for the use cases, right? It's not like GenAI is going to rule them all. I just want to tell them like technology hasn't been evolved to that stage yet. And then when we work with in AI domain, we are combining the classic AI and then GenAI together. So at a different layer.
Yeah.
I do believe that one of the area that I had a big concern about GenAI is more on the accuracies and then latency that we are addressing today. And then you know that when we have an API call to, let's say, GPT-4, and then there is a latency about 4 to 5 seconds, right? And then we know that user experience is like, if we want to render a good user experience, it's roughly 3 to 4 seconds, right? And then how we address that issue, right? And then can we using smaller models to render a better result, and so that the latency is less. So that's one of the area, right? And then the accuracy is big, right? And then we know that there are a lot of concerns about large language enabled technology, GenAI. Hallucination is the one thing that we talked a lot. And then when you interact with GenAI today, you probably feel like the response to your question, they are making up something, right? And then why they're making up something, and then because they may not get enough context, and then but they are trying to pull information from the corpus they were trained on, and then giving you something that sounds like a human decent response, but somehow you are human and you are in the loop and you make the judgment, you feel like this is a hallucination, right? So those are the areas that I feel like my areas of concerns in the production level that I'm working on. But of course, in general, there are bias, right? It's bias. It's not only GenAI, right? Classical AI, and I do have privacy concerns, right? And then whether the specific large language model giving us transparencies about the result, and then the performance robustness and other things. So those are what I want to share.
Yeah, awesome. Next, Shannon, can you talk a little bit about the concerns from maybe a legal perspective that we might have had when we came on to GenAI?
Yeah, and Maggie, I think, touched on so many of the most, I think, critical things that we think through. And just, as on the legal team, we see ourselves very much as partners, at every table and working directly. So I work with Maggie and I work with other people and have roles similar to Maggie to kind of partner on all the things that she mentioned. But I think right now there's really important conversations happening, and I'm sure you're seeing them in the news. I'm sure you might hear about them in your personal lives about, what does this technology mean for humanity? How do we build this in an appropriate way? How do we think about what does it mean to be fair? What does it mean to build technology that's helpful for humanity? And one of the main reasons that I love working at Intuit is because we are a very value-driven company. And not only and there's a lot of companies that have values, but the thing that I love about Intuit is that we really make decisions based on our values. And those values are taken very seriously at everyone at the company, including our senior executives. And so when we realized the importance of AI and how critical it was for our strategy, and I think critical for the world, we at Intuit created a set of principles that guide our decisions on AI. There are responsible AI principles, and I encourage you to read through them. They're available online at intuit.com, and they address important concepts like fairness and accountability and privacy and security. And we have an entire program, our Responsible AI program, that thinks through all the various aspects that go into developing AI systems, everything from our partnerships all the way to how we deploy and build technology ourselves, and to make sure that those concepts are built in. And we work with throughout the entire company, including having oversight, again, at the CEO staff level, that helps make sure that all of our decisions are in line with those values. In addition, we are working really, really closely with our industry peers and also our regulator partners to make sure we're constantly having this conversation and dialogue about what does it mean to be fair? How can we be accountable? And we're looking for people like you on this call, the brightest minds, to help us think through these novel questions, because there isn't an answer yet for a lot of these things. And so we get to be the ones that help kind of think through those difficult challenges. And it's a really exciting time.
Yeah. So Shannon, kind of on that topic, I'd love to piggyback, because that was such a great response, about how you balance innovation and ethical considerations. Because I think you started to touch on it. When we're developing AI powered products, how those are there's a tension there. So can you speak to the approach?
Yeah. And, it's interesting because this is something that I think I work on every day. And this is like a really critical question for right now. And so I think the question is, how do we work responsibly, but also make sure that we're moving with velocity?
Yep.
We want to be innovators. We want to experiment. We want to understand the impact of the things that we're building on quickly. And we want to be a part of that conversation in a helpful way for our customers. And I would say also the world at large. So there's a concept that we have at Intuit, which I think is critical, and that's go slow to go fast. And so what that means is that we try to think through critical questions very thoughtfully, and we try to use data to make those decisions, build data, use data, collect data, build those decisions, and then also kind of work with all of our stakeholders across the organization to think through all of the different ways that a critical question could have implications. But once we've made that decision, we think about doing that at scale. And so our responsible AI program is designed to facilitate a conversation around those questions at all levels of the company. And then when we make decisions, we try to deploy them at a platform level. And so that's what we're looking. I know that's what my team is looking for help with. And I know that's what we're looking for, people who are interested in delving into those questions and helping us not only come up with the answers, but also all of the ways to operationalize that so that we're moving at speed.
Thank you so much. All right. Next question. How have you most effectively addressed the fear factor that could be seen in some roles regarding AI making their work obsolete? At the time, highlighting the tremendous opportunity that AI capabilities can present for all roles across Intuit. Can you at all speak to that? Maggie, can we start with you? Talk about the fear factor.
So yeah, so this is I know this is a prevalent question, and then people ask like not only the Gen AI era, and then just when we start AI in overall, like folks feel like AI can replace human being, and then if you remember 20 years ago, folks may think that AI can replace a doctor to do the diagnostic, right, to make that final decision. It's actually not here yet, right? And then so we know that that's a good wish, like folks feel like AI can replace human, but I wouldn't see that nowadays. I'm still a strong believer and advocate for human in the loop. AI is in the assistive role. Okay, that's number one. And then number two is that career landscapes are always changing. So not only some of the job will be gone, but there will a new job created, right? When I was in pursuing my PhDs, I remember there was not a role called machine learning engineers, right? We call them software engineer, but now like we have tons of machine learning engineers working on the AI and closely working with data scientists. And at that time, we don't call them data scientists. We probably call them statistician, right?
Yeah.
You will see the folks are actually adapted themselves into new roles, acquiring the new knowledge. And then there will always be the career landscape changes, right? And then previously it was dedicated driver. You don't know how to drive probably. And then now like everyone know how to drive. So again, like just equip yourself with the knowledge and then understand and embrace. There are new technology changes every day, and there were like disruptive ones, right? Including AI and then today GenAI. And catch up that trend, and then learn, and then adapt every day. And then learning is a lifelong journey, right? And everyone knows that. So it's like the same for your life and same for your work, professional. So that's just my overall response to this. Yeah,
absolutely.
Be prepared, embrace it, and then learn things. And it's good that you're showing up today because you understand there are challenges and there might be challenges to your profession career. And then just embrace and learn, and then make sure that you catch up the trend. And then you may make a pivot in your career at a certain point. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Danny, what about you? What would you add about that fear factor?
It's real. And our team stacked kind of like a working team to explore generative AI and what that meant for our storytelling and our brand early on. And there was real hesitation early on in that team, even from some of the members that were core members, because there's a fear. What is this going to mean down the road? And what was amazing is as people started to learn more about the tools and what it could unlock for them, for me, I don't know what the future holds. I sure wish I had a crystal ball that told me. But what I can tell you is the way that Intuit's looking at AI, certainly, and I think most people are, is this is augmenting what you're capable as a human. This is not designed to replace you. Now, I can't speak for everyone in the world, but I can say that whether you have the fear or not, don't let it stop you, because you will be missing an important moment right now to explore, is this something that can actually be helpful? And for some people, I think the fear is actually stopping them in their tracks. And so they're not exploring, like, what could this do for me? And if I had advice for you, it's like, give it a try something, simple question. Like I mentioned earlier, tell your own story, like figure out how AI can help you. Because when you are locked in fear, it's not a good place to be. And I don't think there's something to be scared of as of right now. I don't know that will always be the case, but I know we're not building anything that is meant to replace jobs or people. It's meant to help you as a small business owner or as a consumer get closer to your version of your prosperity. So I'm excited. I don't know everything, but I have very high hopes.
Yeah, I have the opportunity as working in L&D for the marketing and communications community. I taught an effective communications business writing class, and we spent the first hour of it doing foundational, like the old school way, manually taking a bunch of information and synthesizing it and drafting communications to like leadership. And at the last 45 minutes, we brought Gen AI into the conversation and taught people how to do prompt engineering. And I'll never forget the person in that workshop who had never used it before, and within 60 seconds of finally like actually playing with it, got so excited they turned to their manager and said they needed to switch careers, they needed to go work on this team. Gen AI was where they wanted to spend the rest of their lives. So I think that it speaks a lot to the just jump in and experiment. Awesome. All right, we're going to move on and kind of switch a little bit to next steps. So for someone new to Gen AI, how should I get started? Do you have any recommendations on courses, trainings, thought leaders? Who do you follow? Maggie?
Yeah, I think I shared with the team a list, right? But we cannot be so comprehensive to address all your needs today. But I know that you have a different level of knowledge in terms of AI or ML. You also have a specific sector you're working in, whether this is medical field or life science or like legal or business product. But I just want to see there is always one member that I follow. You probably know his name, Andrew Ng, right? And then he is the founder. He's my role model in the AI domain, along with many other fellows. The big names that you saw from LinkedIn every day, right? And then I followed his post, and then there are deeplearning.ai blogs that if you subscribe, you can learn those things all the time. And then he also shared the industry trend. And then, he has multiple startups. Recent blog actually addressed his challenge when he was at Baidu Brain, and then also like when he found the Google research, and then he feel like the challenge is to use a single solution or one solution to address all. So he started each individual startups to address like the niche use cases, and then you are very welcome to read his blogs, right? And then from the deeplearning.ai, there are groups of trainings, right? And then how to be a prompt engineers, and then
Yep.
you understand the LLMs, and those can like different levels. And then you should be able to find where you're interested and with your background, right? And then if you really want to dig into the fundamental, right? And then Coursera has a lot. There are two courses that I recommend. I personally take. One is machine learning. This is a long one, but it really giving you a whole landscapes about ML, that you should learn. Another is deep learning specialist. It's 4 to 5 micro courses, and then telling you the fine tuning, hyperparameter fine tuning, and then CNN, RNN, those kind of neural nets specific knowledge. If you really heavily want to invest in there, go there, right? And then another link I shared with the team, which is a great visualization to show like starting from 2017, right? The Google Brain or Google Research and published that Attention All You Need paper, right? And that's basically start the era of Gen AI. And then how to break that down. Instead of reading that pages long of the scientific paper, you go through that website, it tells you how does the technology work, right? How do they calculate this similarities, and then giving you certain predictions, and then that very intuitive using a visual graphic interaction to tell you, the science. So I really enjoy that. So all in all, start from there, and then every day there are tons of blogs and then newsletters and things published in this domain. Once you have the foundation, you will have your own judgment about what are suitable for your journey, and then where you want to dive in more. So that's all.
Thank you, Maggie. And I know we're going to send out some of your suggested resources after the session. Danny, as someone who's also, living and breathing Gen AI, how are you staying up to date with things as they change? Because things are constantly changing very quickly.
They're always changing, and I have a few recommendations, but my favorite is probably futuretools.io. So Matt from Future Tools is just kind of like an AI nerd geek in the best possible way. And what I love about him is he translates all of these different tools, and it could be image engines, or it could be natural language processing or research synthesis. He's trying all these different tools as they come out, and every week he creates a YouTube show that's like maybe half an hour long, and he sends an email newsletter. And I think it's one of the better ways to kind of keep up on things that are changing. Now, it may not be very scientific for those that are on the engineering side. It may not be enough for you. But if you just want to know what some of the new tools are, what's really changing in the landscape, he does such an amazing job of unpacking that each week. And his YouTube show is fun to watch. He tries out every tool. And that's kind of the spirit of what I think is really helpful is try it. See if it's something that could work for you. If it's not, move on. Maybe 6 months from now it will work. And then there's another newsletter which I really like, which is AI Breakfast, I think. And if you search for AI Breakfast at .beehive.com, I think you can subscribe to it. And it's very similar, like a breakdown of what's happening in AI this week.
Wonderful. Thank you, Danny. All right. So now we are going to switch over to answer some of the questions that have been sent over in Q&A. And so the first one is not an AI specific question, but I think a really good question nonetheless. And so what is the most unexpected lesson you've learned while working at Intuit? So for people who are part of Intuit, what's the most unexpected lesson you've learned? I know my unexpected lesson is definitely how to take feedback. So I have been into it for 8 years, and being able to take feedback as a gift and really not spiral and really take it as opportunities to learn and grow has been just transformative. But would love your feedback as well. Who'd like to go, Danny?
Sure. For me, one of my favorite quotes is all about kind of don't hide from who you can be. And I don't remember off the top of my head, I'll have to look it up. But for me, that's been my journey, is discovering what I'm actually capable of and being within this culture at Intuit. This is going to be my 16th year here, which is a very long time in tech, but that should tell you the quality of the culture and how it resonates with me. I started as a video producer of all things at Intuit, and have iterated and transformed my career to leading customer storytelling and research. And by the way, the company regularly watches the stories that I get to find and tell. We'll surface that at what we call State of the Companies. And so whatever, depending on the time of the year, 15, 16, 17,000, I don't know how many Intuit employees, there's a lot of them now. They get to watch the stories that I find interesting and that I think have something that's relevant for all of them to see. And of course, Sasan has a big say in that, but that is such a wonderful place of influence, and I really have to get it right. I have to understand the trends. What is AI going to mean for the future? What is on the minds of Gen Z consumers as they're going to be the breadwinners of the next decade? I have to be great at my job, and I'm learning, that I'm much more capable than I could have ever imagined. And so it's unlocking that ability to see and build on who you are and create this career and be able to be part of this movement and this wonderful company that's into it. And I'm so happy that I've been able to do that here and in this culture and with all of you.
Thank you. Shannon, would you share an unexpected lesson?
I think the unexpected lesson for me is the way that Intuit embraces empathy. And it really is done at all levels of the company. Like one of the things that we focus on, I know Danny in particular, and also Maggie, like our work, we focus so much on empathy for the customer. And that is, really understanding our customers' biggest challenges, their day-to-day needs, and like really embracing that as our own. But it goes further than that. It's not just about the products we build or our customers. It's also the way we interact with each other. I think there is such an encouragement of being empathetic for all the people you work with, for treating people and understanding people as people with complex lives that are beyond Intuit. And so I think there's such a kindness and compassion that comes with day-to-day interactions, which I think is really refreshing, particularly for a company that is also focused on moving quickly and building cool things and diving into all the hardest problems and doing the hardest research and being a part of the biggest conversations. We do all of those things, but we also do it with a kindness for each other that I think is unique and that I haven't seen at other companies.
Yeah, we like to say that your how matters as much as your what, right? Like the how you get things done. Maggie, would you like to share an unexpected lesson?
Folks probably noticed that I joined Intuit last year, right? Last May, after 10 years of career at IBM Research. And then I think here, the big thing that I learned is that we really move at the speed. So Shannon can share more, but since the GenAI beginning of this calendar years, and then we really embrace the technologies and then move at a great velocities in order to deliver the technology behind the thing to power the Intuit Assist that you can see today. And then there are tons of works that are being done by the broader platform and then BU teams. That was really, the speed, the velocities that really made me feel so surprised, because we have this conviction that we want to empower Intuit to be an AI-driven expert platform, right? And then how to break it down to enable it from the AI, classical AI, Gen AI, and all the technology ecosystems. And then teams are really, really invested. And then also from the company side, the company invests a lot. That's why we're still hiring the roles in the specific domain, right? So that's the thing that I think it's what I learned and then unexpected. But I want to plus one to Shannon that we are customer obsession. We listen to customers a lot, and then I've been in hundreds of customer interviews since I joined, right? And then you can the volume speak to itself. When we produce the product, level of capability. So those are the second one that I want to also plus one to what Shannon said. Yeah.
Perfect. All right, we are going to wrap up. So I'm going to bring up the slides again. And I just want to thank this panel for sharing your